Tonex software does not sound anything like Tonex pedal. This is a statement that I hear a lot and that I have people direct at me looking for a solution. Today we're going to fix that. I have a spoiler alert. They do actually sound exactly the same if things are set up properly. All right, so before we do anything else, I just want to point one thing out that a lot of people get really hung up on. As we know, if we go into our global settings to our trim in, we know that the default setting that Tonex pedal ships with is plus 8.5. I'm going to show you why I don't like that setting. This is a setting that was designed to be changed, and it's a global setting. I talked about this recently in a video that I did where I was telling you that the gain control on a Tonex tone model or preset is the exact same thing as global input trim. We don't need to come in here and menu dive to change this. We should just set this with a lot more headroom and then just use the gain control. So as we can see, we can go minus 15 to plus 15 on this. This is not carved in stone. We can change this, and I'm going to show you today, and I think you're probably going to agree with me after you see what we see today, that plus 8.5 is probably not the best place for this for some very particular reasons. So let's start off with this at 0. So what I'm going to be doing today is I have Cubase set up here with an instance of Tonex software with the exact same tone model that I have loaded on here to Tonex pedal. These will sound identical if things are set up properly. Now, one very important piece of information we need to know about our audio interface and about Tonex pedal is its maximum input level on its instrument input. So on Tonex pedal, that would be the guitar in, and on your audio interface, that's going to be the high impedance instrument input. I am using an Apollo Solo audio interface today. We can go to the hardware manuals of our audio interface, and many audio manufacturers give us the maximum input level of the instrument inputs of the audio interface. Now, this is not just about recording. This is going to be utilizing the Tonex pedal in live as well, because it's all about how hard we're hitting the front of the tone model. So what I have here are two tracks inside of Cubase. I have Tonex software and I have Tonex pedal. I have the exact same tone model on both. So we would figure they would both sound exactly the same. I also have an instance of UAD console here, which is showing how I am set up on my instrument input. I am set here on the high impedance analog 1 input at its minimum gain. Now, as we can see from the Apollo manual, there is a maximum input level of 12.5 dBu. That means that if we fed a 0 dBu signal or a 0.775 volt signal into this input, it would read on our meters minus 12.5 dBFS. Now, you might ask, well, what about Tonex pedal? Well, if we go into global input trim on Tonex pedal and set this to 0 where I have it now, Tonex pedal has a maximum input of 8 dBu, meaning if we fed it with that same 0 dBu signal, it would show up as minus 8 dBFS within our DAW. So what is happening is if we play the exact same guitar into Tonex pedal with it set at 0 on the global input trim and on the Apollo Solo with its minimum gain, Tonex pedal is going to sound more saturated. And this is what a lot of people find they notice as well. Let's take a listen to that. Now, keep in mind, I'm playing a rather low output Gibson Les Paul with Gibson Burstbucker pickups. This is not a high output guitar. So here's what Tonex software sounds like on the minimum gain on the UAD Apollo Solo with the same tone model as it's on Tonex pedal. If I switch over to Tonex pedal, do you hear that? Tonex pedal sounds more saturated, and it's obvious why. We are actually hitting Tonex pedal with 4.5 dB hotter signal. So I can do one of two things. I could either come to Tonex pedal, bring this down 4.5, since as we said, this is an 8 dBu maximum input versus the Apollo Solo being 12.5. So now we've matched it up. Let's listen to how Tonex software now compares to Tonex pedal. This is Tonex software. Ignore that little blip when we switch. That might throw you. we now hear the same level of saturation because we've matched these up perfectly. We could have also done something different. We could have kept this at 0, and we could have gone into UAD console and added approximately 4 dB of gain to match up. Now, it should be 4.5. I can't do that in UAD console. So let's do 4 here, and we'll bring this back by 0.5, just so that we have everything matched up nicely, and we'll take a listen to that. See, they sound the same. And of course they do. We're hitting them with the same amount of level. So that's great. It seems very easy. We could look up the maximum input level of our audio interface at its minimum gain, compare that to the 8 dBu maximum input level of Tonex pedal when it's set to this 0 global input trim, and we match those up with the appropriate amount of gain, and our tone models are going to sound exactly the same when we go from Tonex software to Tonex pedal. Now, one of the big problems that I think is causing so many issues is the fact that we have an 8.5 dB default setting on the global input trim on Tonex pedal. Now, if you just come along, plug into Tonex pedal, and play, you might go, that sounds great. I love it. Everything's good. Well, it isn't great, though, if we were playing our audio interface into Tonex software first. And the thing about this is that Tonex software is where everything originates from. We create our tone models in there. We also play them in there before we load them onto our pedal. So if we listen to Tonex software, and let's say we go back and have this down at its minimum gain, where a lot of people run their audio interfaces. Then we load it onto Tonex pedal with that plus 8.5 dB global input trim boost. We now see a gigantic difference, and this is what's happening to folks when they do this in a lot of situations, is they go to Tonex pedal and everything's oversaturated. Well, yeah, because we're hitting the front of the tone model with a lot more gain. Now, a lot of folks say, well, that's fine. I'm going to leave Tonex pedal at 8.5. The only issue with that is this. Now, if you think about this, remember what we had to do to get my audio interface here to match up with Tonex at 0, I needed to add 4 dB, and actually 4.5, but let's just go with this. And then I would have to add another 8.5, so it's going to be 13 in total. So I need to go from this starting point of 10 up to 23. Now let's see what happens right here on our instrument input on our audio interface. We now start peaking out, and this is a low output guitar. I'm going to grab a higher output guitar and see what happens with that. I'm now playing my Vigier Excalibur, which has a tone zone pickup, a much higher output pickup. I don't even have to hit the strings hard. And I'm overloading that input. It sounds terrible. But that's where I would have to run my instrument input on my audio interface to have it match up with Tonex pedal at 8.5. Let me grab my Gibson Les Paul back again. Now, the advice given by so many folks is to simply go to your audio interface, bring up the instrument input level to the point that it clips, and then back it off. Well, here's where the problem lies. So if I was to go in with this setting that I know matches Tonex pedal at plus 8.5 on its global input trim, I play my guitar on its hardest strums, as people say, and I go, oh, that's clipping. So now I bring it back 1 to, let's say, 3 dB. Go to the neck pickup. I'm still too close to clipping for my liking. Let's bring it back another 2 dB. Neck pickup. Man, I'm still kind of close. I'm going to bring it back one or two more. Let's go one more. Okay, I could be happy there, but here's the problem now. I've brought this back by 5 dB. Now, if I go between my software and my pedal, the pedal is now oversaturated. because it's getting hit with that 5 dB more level because of the setting that we have over here on our global input trim. And this is why I suggested in previous videos, I create my tone models so that I would have this here set right around -11 if I was using this interface. I don't use this interface to create tone models, but this would be in and around very close, like within half a dB of where I would want to be. And that would basically equate roughly over here on Tonex pedal to around -3.5. I usually run mine at -3. And you're going to see now when I set it up like this, not only do I have lots of headroom on my instrument input, I never have to worry about it. Even if I switch guitars, I'll be fine. But now these match up perfect. And they sound the same, and they always will as long as I understand my settings. And the beautiful part about it is I can go into the gain control like I talked about in either one of these, bump it up. Let's say there's going to be a 12 dB boost there. I can go a 12 dB boost here. See if they sound the same. Of course they do. And here's the great part when using the gain control is we never affect our input where we leave ourselves plenty of headroom and to never be in that danger zone of clipping. All right, I hope that that was helpful. I hope that you guys understood that. There is a little bit to understand to make sure things are dialed in right. There are some potential pitfalls and traps. If you do have that default global input trim on your pedal set to 8.5, that could be a big reason why you can't get your audio interface in the software to match up perfectly. So you might want to play around with that. I have other videos on the topic that will have probably been up in little cards up top as we went along, and I'll also have links below to some very pertinent videos that may help you even further. I hope that that was helpful, and I really do hope that that helps straighten that out. Please like the video. Please share this video with as many folks as you can so that we can get this word out so that people don't have these problems. I just want to see everybody be able to use this Tonex ecosystem in the most streamlined, efficient manner. Just get on to making music is what we actually want to be doing with it. Also, please subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I'll be back really soon with some more. I'm going to leave you with some music on the way out. I hope you enjoy that. The links will be below to any of the tone models you hear on the way out. Ciao for now.